Hi, welcome back to Mary Trump Media Live. Mary is out today. I'm Brian Karam sitting in, and I want to thank everybody for having me today. After all, there is a lot of fun going on in Washington, D.C. It continues with the Donald Trump reality American Hell show. He started today by telling us, don't call him a dictator, just come along for the ride. So, hey, folks, let's dive in. Hi, look, I want to start today by just saying two words that haven't been said enough. Epstein files. Anyway, today Donald Trump visited the Kennedy Center, and when you know it, that was the site of one of his first hostile takeovers. He announced new honorees and also rambled in rage in front of the press, us, about Washington, D.C., and yet another example of how he's sliding into dementia. And don't forget, he wants to be the host of this. He has never gotten an award. He's going to give himself one. Anyway, he did speak about the new honorees and awards, being sure to make sure it's all about himself. Take a look.
1978, the Kennedy Center honors have been among the most prestigious awards in the performing arts. I wanted one. I was never able to get one. This year, it's true, actually. I would have taken it if they would have called me. I waited and waited and waited, and I said, the hell with it. I'll become chairman, and I'll give myself an honor. Maybe I'm going to honor, next year we'll honor Trump, okay?
His desperation is palpable, folks. Look, it's the second time this week he's talked about an award that he doesn't deserve. In case you forgot, he said he wanted an athletic award for the Olympic medals that he was gifted in advance of the 2028 Olympics. Don't never forget that he also stole a couple of trophies from soccer players, but that's another story. Anyway, don't despair, Don. I hear South Park plans on giving you an award for being the easiest idiot on the planet to satirize. Anyway, for a man obsessed with winning, he sure can't help but screw up every single task he's ever set his mind to, except staying in office. Anyway, most Americans these days aren't too keen on a hostile takeover of anything in our government. Donald acknowledged this today, even calling out those who called him a dictator. Take a look.
We're going to fight crime. That's a good thing. Already they're saying, he's a dictator. The place is going to hell, and we've got to stop it. So instead of saying he's a dictator, they should say, we're going to join him and make Washington safe. But they say, he's a dictator. And then they end up getting mugged, and but the stats are very bad. But we're going to, I think we'll actually get Democrat support. I really believe they can't do this one too.
Okay, let's break that down. First of all, the stats don't show anything like that. Donald Trump makes up his stats. It isn't much of a denial that he wants to be a dictator either. In fact, it isn't a denial at all, and we shouldn't expect one. He said he would be a dictator from day one. Those are his words. He simply wants everything his way. He's like a child screaming in the sandbox. Only, folks, the sandbox is a lot different than when he was a kid. It's the world. And he sounds a lot different in the D.C. sandbox now than he did on January 6th when he called an attempted coup, a bunch of patriots having a picnic. Folks, that was the last real dangerous day that I experienced in Washington, D.C., and it was Donald's fault. So if you're going to arrest the criminals, let's start with Donald. Finally, Donald is asked about his time limit on his hostile takeover of D.C. and whether or not he needed congressional approval. Have a listen, take a look at that.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your federalization of the police has a 30-day limit unless Congress acts to extend it. Are you talking to Congress about extending it, or do you believe 30 days is sufficient?
Well, if it's a national emergency, we can do it without Congress, but we expect to be to Congress before Congress very quickly. And again, we think the Democrats will not do anything to stop crime, but we think the Republicans will do it almost unanimously. So we're going to need a crime bill that we're going to be putting in.
Let's be honest and let's look at the facts. Donald could have called a national emergency when on January 6th, people rioted at the Capitol, smeared their feces on the wall, attacked, beat people, killed a police officer, but that wasn't dangerous enough for Dom. Somebody getting mugged is. At this point, he'll probably get what he wants. A dysfunctional Congress isn't offering any checks and balances. Donald is actively ignoring the courts and taking over our nation's capital. So he wants to be crowned a king. Never forget that, or at least get some more gold on the walls at the White House. And never forget January 6th. That was the real violence. And on the subject of Washington, D.C., D.C. residents aren't backing down from Donald Trump and his hostile takeover. MSNBC spoke with D.C. residents on their thoughts, and they had a message for Donald, loud and clear. Take a look.
The whole idea that there is some kind of a crisis of disorder in D.C. is a made-up, phony story to distract attention from deteriorating economy, from the ICE raids, which horrify even people who wanted action on immigration, and of course from the Epstein files. I think this administration would like to take over not only D.C., but any state or jurisdiction that doesn't completely bend the knee.
The conservative-leaning Wall Street Journal is even calling Trump's latest escalation, quote, his boldest move to date to expand the use of military power on U.S. soil. As the AP reports, Trump's targeting of D.C. and his rhetoric around it echoes a long and ugly history of racism towards majority black cities in America.
He's doing the dictator playbook again, just like he did in L.A.
He does this with black mayors.
Yes.
Whether it's Baltimore, L.A., New York.
It is the reincarnation of George Wallace, of Huey Long, of the disgusting policies of the past.
This is part of the very dangerous slide towards authoritarianism.
Slide, we're there, folks. This is authoritarianism. And guess what? You saw all of that footage just now. And what weren't we talking about? Jeff Epstein. So yeah, Donald and his regime, this is, to sum it up, a distraction from the Epstein scandal, bad economy, total incompetence, but mostly the Epstein scandal. That's the last thing that Donald Trump wants to talk about. And it's the only thing that his own supporters want to talk about. It isn't going away. And what's frightening is he's just desperate enough to do anything to avoid talking about it. And I do mean anything, up to and including declaring a war. You saw the movie Wag the Dog? Folks, take a look. Donald Trump is wagging something. I hope I don't have to sit around and watch it much longer. Anyway, Donald and his regime are pushing these insane stories and facts, they aren't facts, to keep from saying the word Epstein. And at the same time, to justify this takeover. Hermit Dillon, the head of the civil rights division of the DOJ, look at what he tweeted. A malodorous homeless person attempted to swipe my phone today while I was walking in D.C. back to the DOJ from an appointment. But he was not in his right mind, and I artfully dodged the attempt. Yes, the artful dodger. I believe that part. Anyway, it'll be a while till things feel safe in the city, so everyone stay alert. What a crock of crap. Really? Unsafe my ass. I've lived in the DMV of Washington, D.C. I've partied there. I've been there late at night. I've walked to the metro late at night. I worry about teenagers sometimes because, they pass out on the subway. But good Lord, I've been to high school football games that are more dangerous than most parts of the district. Are there some dangerous parts? Yeah, there are dangerous parts of every city. And for those that think buying safety with Donald Duck's latest tragedy is relevant, let me remind you, it's not. Remember what Ben Franklin said, those who would purchase safety at the expense of liberty deserve neither. If Donald Trump was really upset about street violence, he'd reintroduce the automatic weapons ban and do something about the nearly daily occurrence of mass shootings in cities and states across the country. But that doesn't jibe with the script of the Donald Duck reality show. So he's not going to do it. Anyway, while Donald Trump pushes a hostile takeover at home, things in Gaza are getting worse and worse. And I want to take a moment to talk about a story that few are talking about, and it hits me at my very heart. What's going on in Gaza gets worse every day, and just this week, an entire group of Al Jazeera reporters were killed in an attack by Israel that they admitted they took. Take a look at this coverage from Reuters.
An Israeli airstrike on Sunday killed Anas al-Sharif, an award-winning Al Jazeera journalist, along with 5 others. Al-Sharif had previously been threatened by Israel. 4 of the dead were his colleagues, and a 5th was a freelance journalist. Al Jazeera and Gaza health officials said they were killed by a drone strike on a tent housing members of the media near Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza City. The UN Human Rights Office on Monday condemned the killing of the 6, saying the actions by Israel's military represented a grave breach of international humanitarian law. Israel's military said it targeted and killed al-Sharif, saying he headed a Hamas militant cell and was involved in rocket attacks on Israel. Al Jazeera rejected that assertion. Al-Sharif had also rejected earlier claims by Israel that he was connected to Hamas. UN Special Rapporteur Irene Khan said last month that Israel's claims against al-Sharif were unsubstantiated. Al Jazeera said the attack was, quote, a desperate attempt to silence voices in anticipation of the occupation of Gaza.
Let's be honest. What was done to that young man is no different, except on a scale of differences, what Donald Trump does every day, silencing people who will ask the hard questions. And let me also, as someone who's covered conflicts in 12 different locations on 4 continents and put my life in danger doing it, those reporters out there every day put their lives on the line. They don't run from the conflagration, they run to it. And why? Because they're doing the real report, the real work that reporters need to do, being witnesses to history. And why didn't they want him there? Because they don't want you to know what's going on in Gaza. And finally, if there's absolutely no facts to go with the assertion that he was part of Hamas. Let me tell you, as a reporter who's humping every day, trying to get on air, you're trying to go live 2-3 times a day. He's tweeting out 12 or 15 times a day, writing stories. When would you have time? When would you have time to lead rocket strikes? And your side gig as a reporter? Crap. Let me tell you something. Terrorists don't hide in front of the camera. They hide in tunnels, and they hide in under hospitals and under residential areas because they're cowards. This man was brave enough to stick his face on camera and speak truth to power. And that is what we should be supporting. And it breaks my heart that there have been 180, there have been more reporters killed in this war than in any reporting from the Committee of Project to CPJ, Committee to Protect Journalists, than they've ever reported. 184 reporters have been killed in the Gaza war, including 2 Israeli reporters, 170 some odd Al Jazeera or Muslim reporters, and 6 reporters from Lebanon. So, folks, it's as serious as it gets. Meanwhile, we're just 48 hours away from Donald Trump's meeting with his betrothed, Vlad the Impaler Putin, where Trump will once again try to regain favor with the love of his life and attempt to convince him to end another war, this one in Ukraine that he said he would end on day 1 and hasn't ended. Anyway, here's CNN with the latest on that.
President Trump seems to be tempering expectations ahead of his meeting with Vladimir Putin Friday in Alaska. Trump hoping it will help end Russia's war in Ukraine, but notably he suggested it will not include Ukraine's president, Volodymyr Zelensky.
This is really a feel-out meeting, a little bit. And President Putin invited me to get involved. He wants to get involved. I believe he wants to get it over with. Now, I've said that a few times, and I've been disappointed. We're going to see what he has in mind. And if it's a fair deal, I'll reveal it to the European Union leaders and to the NATO leaders and also to President Zelensky. I think out of respect, I'll call him first. And then I'll call them after. And I may say, lots of luck, keep fighting. Or I may say, we can make a deal.
A feel-out meeting. Donnie, your Freudian slip fell. Anyway, it's hard to imagine that Don's going to be successful in this. He hasn't been yet. And Putin has no desire to end this conflict. Donald Trump can't even honor entertainers at the Kennedy Center without embarrassing himself and sounding like a deranged roofer. Putin doesn't respect him and continues to play him. This meeting is purely for show. Putin is putting on a show. Donald is putting on a show. What's going to happen? Probably nothing. Putin actually is proposing a land swap, wherein Ukraine will give up land that was purchased in blood by the aggressor, Putin, so he keep the land that he stole from Ukraine. Folks, that's not a deal. That's surrender. And Ukraine President Zelensky knows that this meeting is going nowhere. In speaking to the press today, he made clear that Putin was playing Donald. Take a look.
Told President Trump and all our European allies, Putin is bluffing. He's trying to push before the Alaska meeting on all directions of our front line. Russia wants to occupy the whole of Ukraine. This is his wish. And Putin is bluffing that sanctions is nothing and they don't work. In fact, sanctions are hitting Russian war economy hard. It's true. Russia has a lot of weapons, many times over than we have. Artillery, let's say, for three times more. But they sustaining 3 times more losses. And I said about it to our European friends, to President Trump, that Putin definitely does not want peace. He wants to occupy Ukraine. And we all understand that Putin cannot fool anyone. We need future and further pressure and European and American sanctions against Russia. And together, our union of partners can stop war of Putin's. We spoke about the Alaska summit. We hope that the central topic will be the ceasefire, immediate ceasefire. President Trump was mentioning it many times. He suggested that after the Alaska meeting, we will have a contact and we'll discuss all the results, if there will be results, and we'll decide our next common steps.
Look, Zelensky is right, folks. Putin has no intention of making peace with Ukraine unless he occupies all of it. I was in Ukraine. I can tell you that's not going to happen. The Ukrainians are a very proud people, and you may be able to level that country, but you'll never be able to conquer it. Donald is useless. He continues to tell us the war never would have started if he'd been in office in 2020. But the fact is, the war began during Barack Obama's term, and Trump did nothing about it in his first time when he was in office. World leaders know that and have no respect for Don either. Don the Con can coo all he wants that he's ended 5 wars in the last 5 months, but that's also a lie. So, as Donald tries to fix the war abroad, a battle is brewing at home. California Governor Gavin Newsom isn't backing down from Donald when it comes to the redistricting war, and he's leveled up on his trolling. Take a look.
Governor Gavin Newsom taking another jab in the social media war over President Trump's redistricting plan, this time with a post that certainly seems to be a parody of the president's own online style, including all caps. Take a look at this. Donald Trump, this is what the governor's press office writes. The lowest polling president in recent history. This is your second to last warning. The next one is the last one. Stand down now or California will counterstrike legally to destroy your illegal crooked maps in red states. Press conference coming, hosted by America's favorite governor, Gavin Newsom. Final warning next. You won't like it. Thanks for your attention to this matter.
I don't know who's writing those tweets, but I love them. Anyway, Newsom knows how to give it to Donnie where it hurts, man. And we know that's one thing Donald Trump despises, being made a fool of. Of course, he does it enough himself, but he doesn't recognize it until other people do it. Anyway, it's embarrassing to him when people beat him at his own game. And Newsom took it even further today in trolling Donald, tweeting a hilarious, pointed statement. He said, and here we go, huge historic event, Thursday, 11:30 a.m. Pacific in Los Angeles. A beautiful rally, a big, beautiful rally. Press conference with Gavin Christopher Newsom and strong Democrats will destroy Greg Abbott's totally rigged maps. Tremendous work is being done. Donald Trump, the criminal president, get ready for the most beautiful payback you've ever seen. Could be the worst day of your life as your presidency ends. Dems retake Congress. America will be liberated. Liberation Day, many are calling it. Thank you for your attention to this matter, Gavin Newsom. You know, I always love that. Thank you for your attention to this matter. It sounds like Donald is like a bill collector or a repo man. You know, you owe me $50. Thank you for your attention to this matter. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. And with that, well, I thought that was my emotional support moment. But with that, we have today's emotional support moment. look up tonight, folks. I do love this stuff. The Perseid meteor shower is back. Bright streaks across the sky in one of the summer's most spectacular shows. This yearly sky event comes when Earth drifts through the dusty trail of a comet. And, there's everything from, rock size to boulder size to house size to many more different sparkling bits of cosmic light that show up and can send dozens of meteors blazing overhead every hour. In fact, I think the high count is 30 or 40 an hour. So if you have a dark sky, you'll be able to see quite a bit. It's a perfect excuse to step outside, find a dark spot, and watch the night put on its fireworks. And if you get a chance, you want to see a pinpoint meteor. You usually see them striking this way across your line of vision, but when one comes right at you, it blows up like fireworks, and it's beautiful. Anyway, here's a little background on what's going, what it's all about, and where to look for the best view.
Happening this week, we are reaching the peak of the Perseid meteor shower, and it actually happens every year. It's an annual meteor shower that reaches the peak in August, but it's actually been going on since early July and continues all the way through the end of the month. And the reason for it is actually because of the orbit of the Earth around the sun. As that's happening, it actually encounters this debris trail, these small particles of dust and small rocks from a comet Swift-Tuttle. And as the Earth is passing through that, these very small particles enter the atmosphere and become those meteors that we get to enjoy. So if you want to check it out, you're going to want to look towards the northeastern sky, towards the constellation of Perseus, which is where it gets its name. And you could actually see anywhere from 10 to maybe as high as 30 meteors per hour during the peak. And some years, it's even more spectacular with over 100 meteors per hour. But this year, we have to deal with a nearly full moon, making it kind of bright and hard to see some of those smaller meteors. So again, if you want to check it out, it's happening tonight and will continue all the way through the end of the month.
Yes, and Donald Trump will lay claim that it was my idea. It's the biggest, baddest meteor shower. Thank you. I did it. Everything's about Donnie. But actually, get out there and enjoy it. It's really cool. I like to go out, deep sky, dark sky territory, take a picnic lunch, your beloved, sit back and watch. It's a lot of fun. So with that, we're going to Midas Cheryl has gifted one Mary Trump Media membership. Thank you, Midas Cheryl. Greg Bender, $2 donation. Did bullshit Barbie take lessons from Baghdad Bob? If by bullshit Barbie you're talking about what I call the presidential PEP secretary, I'll just remind you that she had to backtrack in the one briefing they've had this week, first in 10 days. Baghdad Barbie had to stand up there and was asked a pointed question. Now, mind you, no one's asked about Epstein. No one's asked about the homeless. No one's asked about anything that Donald Trump has done. Most reporters in that room are asking Donald Trump how come he's such a great guy. But there was one reporter who said Donald Trump came out on Friday and said he was going to Russia. Did he make a mistake, or is he actually going to Russia? And she had to try and put on a straight face and lie to us about that, when we all know the true answer is Donald Trump is suffering from dementia. And that's a fact. This is not the same guy I covered 4 years ago. Anyway, Susan Thompson, thank you for the $10. And she says, spotlight on the Epstein files cover-up. Baby, I'm with you. I have asked that question. You know, what's funny is when you're not in the briefing room, you're out of sight, out of mind. So every day I send them an email. What about the Epstein file? What about the Epstein file? It's read and not answered. They're ghosting me, but I don't care. I'm going to ask that question every damn day. So what can I tell you? Somebody's got to ask it. Zella, $10. What Susan said. I second that. I second that too. I don't know what Susan said, but I'll second that emotion. Anyway, Dodie Palmer, $1.99. Always good to hear from you. Well, thank you, Dodie. It's always good to be here. You guys are a lot of fun, and it's always good to sit here and talk about the White House with people who actually get it, because I have spent, I ran across a Trumper yesterday, and they said, look, he's making the country better. I know the district. It's safe now. He's going to make it safe. I go, when was the last time you were in the district? Oh, I've never been to the district. Now, how the hell would you know whether it's safe? I've lived there 32 years. You're trying to tell me that my own experiences count for nothing, but what Donald Trump tells you does? Yeesh. So anyway, I appreciate hearing from you guys. Kelly Sanford, $10. Hi, Brian. Great to see you. Great to see you too, Kelly. I hope everyone's doing well, and I sure appreciate being here, and I appreciate Mary asking me to do it. It's always fun to sit in. Lizzie Beth, $5. Question: if DJT gives Alaska to Putin, do we get our money back that we paid for it? Well, it's only $7.2 million. But, you know, that I got to tell you, Lizzie, I'm being honest as hell. When I heard that he was going to Russia or going to Alaska, the first thing I wrote in a piece, and I think I may have even tweeted it out, I said, why is he going to Alaska? Is he going to sell it or give it back to them? You never know with Don. The thing is nothing would surprise you. And I'll be also honest with you. When we were talking about Baghdad bullshit, you know, PEP Secretary Barbie a few minutes ago, if Donald Trump came out into the press briefing room and said, you guys turn down the television, the water's backing up in the toilet, and then walk back into the White House, Baghdad Barbie would come out 2 minutes later and tell us why Donald Trump is so brilliant. That's the type of people we're living with. So Alaska to Putin, do we get our money back? No, we won't get our money back. Donald will probably pay him. Sunshine F, great clip. Really, is it just cut and paste? Gavin will walk circles around him with his eyes closed. It doesn't take much. And one of the reasons why you won't see Donald Trump sit down to do interviews, long form interviews, or even answer questions from people like me or April Ryan or Jim Acosta or John Carl or any of the people who tormented him during his first administration is because Donald Trump cannot handle it now. He used to enjoy the fight. He used to pick on, when I would sit down in a press briefing with him, he would look for me, he would call on me, and he wanted to fight with me. And he did the same with Acosta and with others. This version of Donald Trump, my 5-year-old grandson can walk circles around him. Donald Trump is not the man that he was when he left office the first time. Oh gosh, where are we? If they gave out awards for pathological lying or pedophilia, maybe Dementia Donnie would qualify. Well, if they gave out awards for pathologically lying, he'd win an Oscar. Look, I keep saying this man missed his calling. He would have been a great game show host. I could see him hosting Family Feud. He'd get to kiss all the girls like, you know, Richard Dawson, and probably try to do, you know, unmitigated things with others. But nonetheless, he missed his calling. This man should never have been president. He's a con artist. He is, and he's definitely demented. There's just no way around it. Anyway, Susan Thompson, $10. Thank you for hosting tonight, Brian. You rock. Well, thanks. You rock too. In fact, I got my guitar back there, and I'll be rocking later. You know, rock and roll is good for the soul. I can't help it. We love it. So, Maria Betancourt, thank you so much, Ryan. I always enjoy your shows. Well, thank you, Maria. Again, I enjoy being here. You guys are great. Hi, Brian. Or Trump is deliberately saying Russia to protect his beloved Putin from arrest. Well, I do believe that there is a reason why they're meeting at a joint base in Alaska, not only because it's the height of the tourist season in Alaska and it's a very small population and not a lot of places can host a presidential meeting of this order. But I think it's it's a short trip for Putin. He doesn't have to risk being picked up by the international court. He can fly into the, it'll be safe. They'll fly in, they'll talk, they'll kiss, they'll make up, they'll fondle each other. Someone will get a reach around and Putin will leave back to Russia. Dorothy Reed, a $2 super sticker. Thank you, Dorothy. Hi, Brian. Tip: the rich always get richer off the backs of workers. Well, yeah, that's pretty. If you take a look at what Donald's done, and that's why I think the oligarchy is done with him. If you've noticed, and if you've noticed, Donald Trump, the moment they passed the one big beautiful bill, who was it that dropped that big story about Donald Trump that led to the current scandal? Why, that was Rupert Murdoch. And Donald Trump then went around and look, Donald Trump is not one of the oligarchs. He is the gatekeeper for the oligarchs. He's not as rich as they are. He doesn't have their influence, and they're pretty well done with him. He got the big, beautiful bill passed, so they got everything that they wanted from the big, beautiful bill, all the cuts, all the stuff with crypto, and now Donald is pretty much useless to them. So they started this, and Donald Trump can't react to it. He's threatened to sue. Well, he did sue Rupert Murdoch. And what did Rupert do? He dropped another story. And that hasn't been talked about much either. But I think the rich getting richer, I think they've about had all they can take out of Donald Trump. Anyway, moving on, Lizzie Beth, $2. Oh, wait a minute. Hi, Brian. Oh, hi, Brian. Tip over there. Lizzie Beth, a $2 donation interest. Brian, thank you. Dumpster Diving Dragon. God, I love that one. 99 cent super sticker. Pink Nightmare. Play us a little Aussie. Well, I'm already riding the crazy train, baby. I can't tell you enough how I'm already there. But I was thinking of Green Day. Do you have the time to listen to me whine about everything and nothing all at once? Anyway, that is Green Day, isn't it? No, wait a minute. Anyway, member for 2 months, Pink Nightmare. I love it. Benny Loco, $5. Brian, would love to have you as a guest on 21st Century Suffragettes. Say you will. I will. Anytime you want, just give me a holler. I'll be happy to hang out with you. And it's always fun hanging out with you guys. In fact, this is the greatest group of people. I got to tell you, all of you all are just a joy to be around. And it does my heart good because it's very hard on a daily basis. I'll leave you with this. I have a cousin who posted on her social media that people not born in this country should never hold office. She is my cousin. My grandfather, her great uncle, was not born in this country. When he was 7, he came to the United States. He was not born here. He was a naturalized citizen, and he was a patriot. Not only that, he held political office. He was a circuit court judge in the state of Kentucky. And he was proud of his new home, and he always called himself an American. And to disparage those who have come to this country to make a better life for themselves and say they can't serve is crap. And the worst crap of all is to say it of your own family member and to be ignorant of your past. So every time I'm here with you guys, I find it a joy to be here because you're some of the few people that I know who still understand history and facts. And man, that means everything today. So look, guys, with that said, thanks for having me. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I'll be here all week. Try the veal. Catch you next time.